Welcome back to Family Gamer TV. Now, this is the second in our really sort of close looks at Disney Infinity and Skylanders Swap Force. The two games coming up, both of them use, as you can see here, the toy figures to access characters in the game. But having looked at how the figures are different and how they sort of design their characters slightly differently, we wanted to look at the functions in the game to see how they compared. So let's just pick up a couple of these figures for a reference. Who should we go for? Swarm and the Lone Ranger. So as you've seen before, obviously that you've got the different poses, a different style of modelling. The Disney Infinity characters are much more sort of realistic, much more lifelike, whereas the Skylanders characters are just look much more cartoony and have their own sort of style. I think they use a few more materials in the Skylanders as well. But the game itself, so these characters differ quite a lot in the game. Although they both are used to unlock the equivalent character in the game, the way that they work is slightly different. So a big thing about the Skylanders characters is that they create quite a close bond between the player and the figure, because you're actually upgrading that character as you go. So it has a sort of a role-play element. So as you progress through the game, you collect experience, and you make choices about how that figure is going to behave, which sort of power-ups they're going to have, what level they've got to. And those choices are pretty much permanent, although you can switch them on the Series 3, Series 2 figures. Basically, what you're doing is changing how those characters act and respond and fight in the game in a permanent way. So there's sort of a character development element to it. And I think that was one of the big things that made Skylanders the success it did, because you created this permanent bond between you and the figure as it changed to suit your play. And they had this whole thing about how the figures remembered your adventures that you've had with it in the same way that you remember them. Now, the Disney Infinity characters, again, they put them on the portal on the Infinity base, and they unlock the character in the game, so you can actually access them. But there's not that permanent sort of back and forth. Although you do earn stars, and those are saved to the character, so there's a sense that it remembers your progression. But you're not making permanent decisions about how that character acts in the game. In Disney Infinity, that's done by the circular power token, power discs that you can place under the character. And by stacking up 2 or 3 of those, each one represents a different power-up, and you can switch them in and switch them out. So how your character acts in the game with the powers that he or she or it has can change, and you can change this on the fly. So if you come to a particular level, you can change up what abilities that they have. Now, those discs and tokens I quite like, because I know that I would be happy with my kids taking them to school, a bunch in their pockets, and then swapping them with their friends, whereas I wouldn't really want them to take a proper figure into school and to swap that. So I think that's quite a nice aspect of the game. It does add a whole other layer of sort of retail things you have to buy, and those discs come in a blind pack. Now, these are the foil packs that you get. Things like little Lego figures in, and we've got our guy here. But the thing is, you can't see which discs you're going to get before you buy those packs. So it's going to be potentially you're going to have a bit of repetition, and you're going to need to do that swapping. Then the other thing different about Disney Infinity is that rather than having one big adventure in each of the main game releases, there's going to be these play sets, and this is the Lone Ranger is from the Lone Ranger playset. Now that will come with a playset piece, which again you'll put on the portal, a bit like the adventure packs, and that will unlock content in the game. But that's the main way that Disney Infinity it will be accessing and offer you the stories that it provides on the disc. Rather than the sort of the extras that you got with those Skylanders Giants, Skylanders Spiders adventure packs. But they'll act in the same way. Once they're on the portal, on the Infinity base, then you can work your way through those adventures. Of course, the other big difference for Disney Infinity is its toy box mode. So there you can create your own game, and it's sort of a toy maker mode. So the items and the characters you've unlocked by putting things on the Infinity base and by playing through the game and winning them, that can then be used to make your own games. So you can use the pieces that the game designers would in a mode that lets you mix up the different franchises and create your own experiences. So that's our comparison of Disney Infinity and Skylanders Swap Force. So it'll be interesting to see if these games hit the shops, how they compare at retail. It's obviously going to be hotly contested who's going to be the sort of #1 toy meets video game title as we get near to Christmas. I hope that was helpful, and we'll be back more with more Disney Infinity, more Skylanders, Swap Force soon.